Hi, hello, my name is Carl Carzana, and what you're about to watch and listen to is the first ever episode of Cold Calling. It's a pilot episode. It's a brand new podcast where I, Carl Carzana, the comedian, will phone up friends of mine, other comedians, people like that, and I will interview them without them being aware that they're being interviewed. So the idea being that you, the public, get to experience these comedians in a way that you've never seen them before, where they are unguarded and unaware that they are actually engaging in an interview. In the end, I've decided not to progress with this idea because I was worried that in doing so I would use up a lot of the goodwill that I had established with my friends. In this episode, the comedian Alecks Mayson was so eager to be interviewed that even though he was suspicious about the whole thing, he very quickly got into the mindset of talking about himself and talking about how great he is. So I thought it would be a shame not to share this first episode. So without further ado, I give to you the first episode of Cold Calling with Mr. Alecks Mayson.
Hello.
Hey mate, how's it going?
Good. I had my phone connected to my speaker. I was blasting some music, and then the robot voice couldn't say your name properly.
Really? What, Carzana or Carl?
Yeah, it was going, Carl Carzana, and I was like, I don't think that's how you say it, robot lady.
That is the story of my life. That it's always happening to me.
What can I help you with?
I was going to ask you. You did a charity walk recently. A charity fire walk recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, could you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Is this for a bit, or are you doing one yourself?
Oh no, I was just interested to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah, basically, it's so what they do is they just set a bunch of coal alight, and then take it down. I'll tell you what, I think it's weird because everyone else kind of bought into it and was like, "Oh, it's so scary." I was like, "Well, he does this every week, and I haven't had to sign a waiver, so I don't think there's any danger here." But it's basically just like walking. Have you ever been to like a water park in a hot country?
Yeah, twice.
You know when the bits of concrete that are in the sun get ridiculously hot.
Yeah.
And you kind of end up doing a kind of little run across them.
Yeah. So it's like
that's what it's like, basically.
Well, it sounds quite nice actually, in a way.
It's good, man. I mean, I think because I'd kind of figured that out in my head, I wasn't worried. But I think for everyone else, like the main part of it was before we did it, like the guy running it did like a little motivational seminar thing, and basically being like, kind of, he did the whole thing of like everyone shut their eyes and like go into what your body language is if you're really sad or upset, and like go to what your body language is like when you're really happy and confident. It was all like, oh, well, you need to hold yourself with confidence, and when you're about to go on the firewalk, you'll hear a voice in your head going, don't do it, and you know what you have to say to that voice is, shut the F up and just do it. So I think for most people it was like a very good positive experience. For me, I was just like, I feel like the training could have been just do it quickly.
Yeah, don't linger.
That's all it was. But it was fun, and it looked good. And I think I'm just being a miserable bastard. Because I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys that equates everything to stand up. But it was one of those things I was thinking, well, I'm quite used to 3 or 4 times a week, like standing about to go on stage, and there is part of you that goes, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what I mean? Just that part of you that's like, oh God, here we go. Like, so I think I'm quite used to just like going like, well, no, fuck it, let's just do it.
As you described it, I was thinking that is good sort of frame of mind to go into stand-up with, so I think you're right.
Yeah, and actually, I'll be honest, actually that whole kind of thing of just like, listen to that voice that says something like that, or like, I'm scared, just go like, shut up. I think that's, and again, I knew this anyway, but kind of just like walking on stage, at least looking vaguely confident.
Yeah.
Or kind of, it's or even not confident, it's just a kind of,
I think relaxed
You don't have
is
to-
the term that I use.
Yeah. Because something you don't want to necessarily be like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck. You just kind of like, oh, you like that? This is quite normal. Yeah, I think it is as well. Like I don't know about you, but I love doing stand up. The one bit of stand up I don't like is just starting.
Yeah.
Although you're good at pointing out something in the room or kind of having a bit of a chat, I just never know what to start with.
Yeah, it actually leads me on quite nicely to my next question, which is, what was your first gig?
What was my first gig?
Yeah.
Are you? Why are you interviewing me, Carl?
I'm not. I realised that we don't really speak on the phone much, so I just thought I'd ring you up and ask you a couple of questions.
This feels intense. I feel like you're going to publish an article in a couple of weeks. They're going to be like, that bastard. He took quotes out of my head.
No, I was just wondering what your first gig was.
No, that's a good point though. Actually, I am terrible at phoning up friends. And then I'll be like, oh, I haven't spoken to that person in a year. And it's really bad.
Yeah.
My first gig was one of those. Do you remember Henry?
Yeah, I do.
He ran like a gig with the Student Radio Society in Room 76, or whatever it was called, at the University of Sussex campus.
No, that was
like the one in the. Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say that was your first time doing stand-up.
Yeah, which it was actually, looking back, was quite, because it wasn't like an open mic, which I think most people's first gig is. And actually, I don't have a recording of it. In my head, it went very well. I'm sure if I listen to it now, I'd consider it a bit of a bomb. But you know, when you start and like any after, you're like, oh my God.
Well, yeah, because you're still trying to figure out if you want to do it, you know, how you would do it. Like, if you get even just a small laugh, which in comparison to now, you'd be like, oh, that was them maybe sort of being polite. You think, oh, this is great, I'm going to do it.
It's weird, that ego that comes out, isn't it? Like, because I like to think I'm all like, you know, I'm just gigging and stuff, but when there is sometimes you want to show like, yeah, this is how it's done, baby.
Well, speaking
like,
of sorry.
Oh, go on. No, okay.
I was going to say, speaking of ego, can you describe your style of comedy?
Are you sure you're not interviewing me?
Yeah, I'm just having a quick... Why, does it feel like an interview?
Like your first question was, what was your first gig? And that was, can you... I feel like I'm doing an interview thing. It's fine, but it also feels like you're looking down and you've got questions prepared.
No, I just thought we'd have a quick sort of catch up and, you know, see what's good. So, I mean, can you describe your style of comedy?
I mean, I always hate this. You know, like when you do some shows and they're like, "Oh, can you give us a bio?"
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know, dude. But do you ever like read other people's bios and like you wrote that yourself and that's gross?
Yeah, I tell the audience that I've written it myself. Like,
oh, do you?
Well, particularly if the MC reads it out word for word, you kind of send it and you think, well, maybe they'll pick and choose a bit of it. But like when they're like, Carl Carzana takes the minutiae of everyday experiences and spins them skillfully into well-crafted, like you have to sort of acknowledge it and be like, yeah, I wrote that.
And that's the worst. That is the worst when they read it out on stage. I was thinking more when they put it up on like social media or the website, and you're like, well, I get it, you need that, but I kind of when someone's introduced me, I always get when they're like, oh, do you want me to say anything when I introduce him? Like, just say it's Alecks Mayson. I don't really care. But how I describe it, I don't know, kind of autobiographical, confessional shit. How would you describe yours? The minutiae of everyday life.
Well, that's probably what's written in my bio, but I would describe mine as like a likable, naive, persona-driven hour of excellence. Crammed into 10 minutes.
I do like the naive. How I described your stuff once. It was kind of similar. It was like kind of it is that kind of taking everyday things and just like a kind of naive, slightly savant angle on it.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of operate within the sort of sphere of like normal stand-up, but with like a bit of a sideways look at it, hopefully.
Yeah, a little bit off beat. I'm trying to think of just like, again, how I'd write, and it's just everything. Maybe it's just because we're too close to it. It feels gross when we try and describe what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It feels like.
I'd say yours is like quite kind of long form as well. I wouldn't. It's not like, to say it's not set up punch sounds like an insult, but like it's not like you're going, here's a series of jokes, but it's not a narrative either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, actually, if anything, I'm trying to do it less because I'm always like, what's the narrative of the set, and it kind of needs to make sense, like as a journey. What I've realised recently is the audience doesn't really care. just do your best routines, and as long as they don't actively go against each other, like in one you're saying my girlfriend, and the next you're going I'm so single or something like that.
Yeah, those are two classic jokes of yours. I really like those. Your girlfriend versus single joke.
My girlfriend is a lovely lady that does not exist. Because I'm a man of the road.
So Alex, Oh, sorry, I didn't realise you.
Go on.
I was just going to say, what advice would you give to someone starting out in comedy now?
You are interviewing me, aren't you?
Well, if an interview is a friend phoning another friend and asking them a series of questions, then I suppose yeah. But literally, I just thought, I haven't spoken to Alex in a while. I thought I'd get his take on, what advice he would give to somebody starting out in comedy now.
I honestly can't work out if you're just a strange man or if you're fucking with me.
Maybe both.
Maybe it's both. Maybe it's the. You've not started a blog, have you? And this has all been recorded.
No, I've not started a blog.
Okay, well, what have you started then? Is this a secret recording podcast?
No, I'm just phoning to see what advice you would give to somebody starting out.
I feel like it's, when you watch like old crime dramas and like there's a guy that's got a wire on and like you're trying to like lead me into saying that I'm selling coke or something.
I can see why you'd think that. Yeah, that's.
You are. What do they call them in the crime mob? You're a rat, and I'm the big copper drug baron. What advice would I give? Gig a lot. Don't care what other comics think of you. Is that because something I've always, and only recently I've forced myself to be like sometimes. Sorry, my head is.
Take time.
Not here at the moment. I'm very tired and can't think straight. I sometimes get in my own head with trying new material and stuff. If there's like people I respect in the room, I don't want them to think I'm shit and just bombing with some mad shit.
Carl Carzana.
But what you realise is other comics just generally, unless you went up and did some bizarre racist rant, they don't really care.
Yeah, the other comic is probably not listening either.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I'd say don't be scared with bombing and get used to bombing as quickly as possible. Just write a lot of new stuff. What would your advice be?
Somebody starting out in comedy now, probably do the stand-up that you think is funny, rather than trying to find out what people think is funny, because I don't think that's ever going to work really. Alex, what's your best joke?
Do you have these questions in front of you prepared?
No, it just came to mind. I was just wondering what your best joke is.
What's my best joke? I feel like, and I think this is another good piece of advice, because I got so obsessed with, once I wrote the first couple of bits, which I thought were great, I got to in my head about perfecting them and getting them right. But I've found actually every new bit I write, I think is the best thing I've done.
That's a classic Alecks Mayson quote. Everything I write is the best thing I've done.
Well, no, but every new thing I've written, I'm excited about it. I feel like I'm using a lot more skills. There's more texture to it. I found at the moment, because I think when I started, it was more. It was kind of singular jokes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas now, at the moment when I'm writing, it's either a story or a weird premise that I then talk about for a while. Like, because I don't think you've seen. Like, I've got a story at the moment about going to the football with my dad, which is quite good. But then I've also got a bit at the moment about wholesome lesbian TikTok, which basically, are you on? You're on TikTok, aren't you?
I TikTok occasionally, yeah.
You know when you like watch videos and it just keeps feeding you what you want to see. Basically, for ages I was just getting like videos where it was lesbian couples. They shared an account and they were just doing wholesome things.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, so kind of deconstructing why that was. I found quite. But yeah, I'd say one of those is probably the bit that I have which is kind of my banker, is the bit about dating and like saying how this woman thought I was gay, and they're like, no, you're being seduced, and then the whole bit after that, because I think they're all strong jokes, but they're all quite different.
Yeah, I do. I've already seen you do that bit, but I don't know if I've seen the newer bits recently.
Yeah, I don't think you've seen it. What do you think your best bit is?
I used to do a bit about football that used to quite consistently get a round of applause. So that, I think, for a while was my best bit. There's a bit that I've only done once, but I would say is my favourite thing. But it's a bit antagonistic of the audience, where when you go out and the comedian's like, oh, I look like Sue Perkins, but they've let themselves go, insert celebrity here. Like, like I said, I've only done it once, but I started doing this thing where I go out and I do that joke, but I've made up the celebrity, and so the audience don't know who it is. So I'll be like, oh, no, what you're thinking, ladies and gentlemen, Chester the Blainbridge has let themselves go. And then I sort of berate them for about a minute or two for not knowing who Chester the Blainbridge is. Well, that brings me on to my last question, Alex. Who are your comedy influences?
Honestly, if you publish this, I will be not surprised, but...
I was thinking that after this question, I'd be like, oh, and by the way, Alex, I have been recording this.
I was like, what are you... Is this going to be using? I didn't know if I was talking to a friend or if I was talking to a journalist from the Times.
Yeah, I mean, even before I'd asked the first question, it's surprising how quickly you went into interview mode. Like...
Well, I was kind of, this just seems odd. It was an odd... normally when friends... I mean, maybe this is because you don't actually have any friends, and you don't know, but normally when friends call each other, it's more like, oh, so how's your mum and dad? How's work going?
Yeah.
How's your head? What are you doing for Christmas?
Yeah.
I like the idea that you're just like a comedy robot, that all he can discuss with his friends is comedy. And you're like, well, I broke up with my girlfriend and it's been an issue. And you're just like, well, so what is your opinion on the rule of three?